Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast, where Steve brings up a topic, talks about it, and I react. So, over to Steve.
Hi, people. This story I saw was written by a guy called Paul Serran on the 5th of February. He was talking about plagues. And this plague he was on about is a plague of hippopotamuses in Colombia. Now, this story actually got legs here in Brazil as well, because it was reported on, I believe it was TV Global and on the Global website. And what is the story? The story is around about 40 years ago, drug baron Pablo Escobar, he decided to have a zoo, a private zoo with exotic animals. And he brought some hippopotamuses over from Africa, where they are quite numerous. And as they started to breed, they got a bit too much for Escobar, and he started to let them loose in the local rivers because they like marshy rivers and soft ground and pampa grass and all this sort of stuff. And the hippopotamuses, they created quite a colony, you know. And if you thought that hippos are slow to breed, apparently they're a little bit quicker in water, I suppose. I don't know. But when I was looking into this story, I started to do my own sort of little research about the hippos in Africa. And it says that the hippopotamus is responsible for more human deaths than any other wild animal in Africa, which is their natural habitat these days. So what has the Colombian government decided to do about these hippopotamuses in Colombia who are beginning to attack innocent human beings that are going there to see them? They want to castrate. They're trying to castrate them and spay the female hippopotami. I say hippopotami and hippopotamuses as a plural because you can actually use both. I had to check that up in the Oxford English Dictionary because I know who my companion is here in this podcast, and I know that he's quite strict about the English language. So anyway, this castration and sterilization is already underway. David Ekeveni Lopez said he's in a race against time as they're difficult to capture to do the surgery. So the most difficult part of doing the surgery is capturing them. They're not like it's not like a mouse. You put a bit of cheese into a trap and they come, you know. They like to be in the wilderness. And this Mr. David, I was thinking, it's his job to castrate a hippopotamus. And I was thinking, what his conversation was like with his careers officer at school. What do you want to do when you leave school? And I would have thought that the last thing on his mind would be, sir, I would like to castrate hippopotamuses. I mean, I bet he left school to be something like a factory worker, and he thought, what a change of career that was. But anyway, there are around 169 hippos in the wild in Colombia, and by 2035, which seems to be like a magical number in the year's time, because it's when there'll be no more carbon-driven cars
Okay.
on the road, and everybody's going to be. So by 2035, this sort of milepost in our calendar, they should be looking in more or less be about 1,000 of them in Colombia.
Yeah.
Which when 40 years ago there weren't any, that's quite in 40, 50, 55 years.
Yeah.
From 2 to 1,000.
Mm.
That's quite, because then it's not like the mice and they are born and they die sort of like 2 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're there for
and everything. Yeah.
they're there for the long run.
Yeah.
So this like I said, I got wind of it from this Paul Serran on the 5th of February of this year, as apparently did, like I said, TV Global and the Global website and various other news outlets.
Yeah.
And it seems that this story has got new legs, because you always have to look for 2 or 3 sources to look at any given story.
Yeah.
The earliest I could find on this story was by a lady called Elizabeth Robinson from NBC News on the 15th of November 2023.
All right.
So, this story's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
So this Mr. David Ecaveni Lopez, he must be still struggling trying to capture his hippos, because otherwise it would be a done deal, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are 169 of them to be the doctor or castrate, and that's if they don't mate anymore. So
Well,
it could be that every year he's going back and there's more and more and more. That would be a nightmare, wouldn't it? It'd be like a nightmare. That.
Yeah.
It's like being chased. The worst nightmare is being chased by that great big biscuit, great big cookie.
Yeah.
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But anyway, I digress. Over to you.
Right. I am. So I'm just curious how you capture a hippopotamus. I will be looking online when we finish today.
How to catch a hippopotamus, and it's got C. David Ekaneri Lopez.
Yeah, or hippopotamus. Yeah, or hippopotami. You say tomato, I'll say tomato. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, the guy probably didn't set out to do that, but his career path, if he went into veterinary service, probably led him the way to have an interesting animal conservation, which is what it is in effect.
Large animal castration, prehistoric type animal castration.
It's probably called at the market in it. I can't imagine there's many people going around with the the shears doing it.
Not too sure about the demand of the job.
Well, evidently it's quite high. So, short term is probably, but quite high.
Yeah. He was probably called out of retirement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, again, it just shows you that hopefully, and animals are meant to be where they are meant to be in the world. Okay, there's a reason why some animals are somewhere with big open spaces away from humans. But I mean, us as a species, we're the ones that are actually interfering with the ecosystems, not the other way around. Hippopotamus.
You say that animals have got their place to be in the world. I was looking in my research. There was reference to hippopotamuses being in Egypt, which you wouldn't expect a hippopotamus to be in Egypt, but they were in Egypt, and some pharaohs. They were very problematic. These hippopotamuses. Like I said, they attack people and things like that. And the pharaohs tried to relate the hippopotamus to evil,
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so whenever they spoke about the hippopotamus,
Yeah.
there was something to do with the devil.
Oh,
So
okay.
there were hippopotamuses in Egypt, and hippopotamuses in their lineage,
Mm.
their family tree, if you like,
Yeah.
were linked to camels, to pigs and to camels. There
Okay.
you go.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, they're
I have not been sleeping this last.
yeah. Yeah. Dreaming about it. Mud, mud, glorious mud. Anyone old enough to remember that song? Well, I'm not. You probably are, Steve. I don't remember it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm.
Um, yeah. Yeah. It is a. I mean, yeah. It's always it's an interesting story, and I'm fascinated. I mean, I must admit, it's not something that came on my radar. What with chasing hippopotami I do. I'm interested in some natural things, but yeah, it's a bit closer to home. Yeah, it's yeah. Actually, I mean, it just brings up a thing I had. I had one client, student, who told me he was off on a field trip the following week. He was works in university. I think he did some lecturing while he was studying. Yeah, and he came back the following week, and it's in a classroom situation. You know, I didn't have. I don't. I'm not a teacher who has desks. I believe in having sort of, you know, a bit more friendly, cozy, circle desks and all that. And I sort of said to him, "Oh, how did your field trip go?" He said, "Oh, quite well." I said, "Well, you know, do you mind telling the class what you're doing in obviously in English to get a conversation?" And yes, he did explain that when he was holding on to sharks. I said, "What?" Holding on to sharks. He was quite a good big guy. Actually, I stood next to him and he made me look quite small. Um, so yeah, he was probably the right candidate. And I said, "Where'd you do it?" And I think, yeah, they get them in a sort of cage thing. I don't know how they catch them in the sea.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then yeah, he had to sort of in his wetsuit grab the fins, stand like that while they put a tag on them. This is local team in it. Yeah, we've got a few problems with sharks. Just the background of anyone else listening. We live in northeast Brazil. We have a slight problem with sharks occasionally tasting human beings to see if they're good meal or not. They decide they're not, which is not good news for the human being. Yeah, but that's another another issue. But um, but yeah, he's holding on to it and he's explaining it, and they put the tag on so they can track the movement of the sharks. Yeah. Um, Actually, quite fascinating. I mean, it's absolutely true what he said. You can't blame the sharks because we're
No.
going into their home, we're going into their environment. They're not climbing up on the beach and coming and biting us and going back up into the sea again. Yeah. Um, we're we're not naturally sea dwellers. Um, but yeah, they like to track the movement, and obviously there's a few problems with the sharks have been moved off or being find it very difficult to hunt in their natural habitat due to human activity. So I've moved along the coast a bit and come a bit closer to shore than they normally would do. Otherwise, they'd be quite happily eating the turtles or seals and other things that might be
Right, you just knocked the nail right on the head there.
Yeah.
Uh, we talk about the sharks where we are.
Yeah.
They didn't used to be sharks where we are until some of the ports that were built,
Yes, yeah.
constructed a little bit further down the coast.
Mm.
And then the shark families were pushed up further up north,
Yeah.
and here they are. And they don't attack people because they're people.
Mm. Yeah.
Their favorite food is a surfist, a surfer, sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
who lies on their who lie on their surfboard
Yeah.
and start paddling back. They start paddling out to sea,
Yeah.
and the shark thinks it's a turtle.
Yeah. Here's the movement. Yeah. I mean,
It
yeah.
thinks the shark thinks it's a turtle, so it goes and then it eats them, tries to eat them.
Well, it doesn't eat them. It tastes it.
Well, there you are. He said, this isn't turtle. It spits it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what got all on. Yeah, we all did this. Let's send it back. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. When you're not allowed to share the images, I believe, on social media. I think there's a local rule that says it. So I've managed to see them. I don't know what anyone's going to do about it. Yeah. Quite horrific, by the way. People, I wouldn't go looking for a shark attack with sea feed. It's not very good on. Yes, actually, it's not very nice for the people who've actually had it. Although they're minor celebrity for a time because they're then photographed on crutches and things, giving their account. It doesn't happen that often. That's what I was saying. Yeah, it's just said the hippopotami kill more people than sharks manage to kill. It doesn't happen that often in Recife. We are
In
told
Africa.
in Africa.
Well,
Yeah,
hippopotamus attacking people in Recife is almost non-existent. Actually.
I've never heard of it. But
No, unless somebody climbs in the enclosure at the zoo. I don't even
Give
think
it
there are
time. Give it time.
there are hippopotamuses in the zoo here. Yeah, I think there are. Yeah,
Oh, I've
yeah.
never been to it. Yeah, it's one place I keep meaning to on the bucket list. But yeah, it's a But yeah, getting back to our core subject, I just thought that was a by and by. I thought it was an interesting thing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
sure.
people chasing hippopotami. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Yeah, I
With a
mean,
huge hippopotamus net, chasing the big net on the end of a stick,
yeah.
like a butterfly net, only
I,
bigger.
I just I mean, great big egg animal. Where did you catch it? Where you? Here, hop in. Here, hippie. Here, hippie. Come here. We are making light of it, and no disrespect to any zoologists or anyone else out there. We appreciate the good work you do. Yeah, I mean, there is a video online of actually the key is running out very rapidly out of the enclosure, not in the enclosure, the house of the enclosure. Evidently, he's been feeding this hippopotami or doing something. Something's gone wrong, and he realizes the thing has got agitated. I don't believe they really make a distinction between if you're the keeper or whom you are. When they get annoyed, they get annoyed, and they're a
Yeah.
big animal to this guy, big animal to get annoyed with. But yeah, when he's run out of the enclosure, he's turned around and he's fallen over back. You can see the guy is absolutely terrified. They might be a vegetarian, but I imagine them teeth could still do a bit of damage if they
Those
particularly
bottom
wanted to.
teeth,
Yeah,
they know how to bite.